When you think about senior living, you probably picture care staff, nurses, and activities. But what about hospitality? What if senior communities operate with the same service standards as the world's best hotels? What if every interaction from the front desk greeting to the dining room meal was designed to make residents and families feel like valued guests, not just ordinary residents or even patients? That's the philosophy today's guest brings to the table. I'm Dale Corpus, a senior transition specialist and real estate expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. And like many of you, I'm also part of the sandwich generation caring for my own aging parents while raising my family. I created this podcast to make senior living conversations easier. And here's my promise to you. Every episode brings you real stories, practical tools, and expert insights so you and your loved ones can make transitions with confidence instead of stress. Today's guest, Ryan Turner, spent more than 20 years in the hotel and hospitality industry before transitioning into senior living, where he's now general manager and executive director of Aegis Living in Fremont. Ryan has taken lessons from managing high-performing hotel teams and applied them to senior living, transforming first impressions, creating meaningful dining experiences, leading with empathy, and rethinking how technology can enhance care. In this episode, Ryan and I talk about his unique journey from hotels to senior living, what five-star service looks like in a care setting, how hospitality principles shape culture and family trust, and what the future of senior living might look like when technology and service culture combine. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate senior living, real estate, and everything in between. Hosted by Senior Transition Specialist Dale Corpus, this show brings you expert insights, real solutions, and stress-free strategies to make senior transitions simple. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
And we are back, everybody. Ryan, welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Dale. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
One side note, I was really impressed by your grilling skills from the last East Bay Senior Roundtable. Can you just tell me how you got to grill so well?
It comes from my father. He was the grill master growing up, and those summer days and barbecues, he'd be out there. I'd watch him every day, and eventually one day he trusted to hand over the tongs and forks, so to speak, for me to take over the barbecue. And he taught me well, and I bring my grilling master knowledge to my community now.
I love that. Well, you know how to host the best senior living types of events, and you're consistently good at throwing these events. I have to say that. So I'm giving a shout out to you. Can you share a little bit about your background in hospitality and what drew you into senior living?
Yeah. So like you said in the intro, I've worked over 20 years in the hospitality hotel industry. I was really just looking for a job. I wanted to buy a car. So
Yeah.
I was out looking for a job and got a job at this small cookie cutter hotel, the Crown Plaza in Pleasanton, California. I think it's a area now. I work banquets, room service, and restaurant, and just absolutely love meeting new people, meeting all my peers and other employees, and just love the hospitality side of it, just making people happy. And then one day I hadn't met the GM at that time, and I bumped into the GM and she knew my name. She anticipated the guest needs. And from that moment, meeting that GM, I knew one day
Cool.
I wanted to be a GM. I knew where I want my career to go. I'd studied tourism management. And then 10 years later, in many different hotel jobs, from front desk to housekeeping to accounting to HR, sales, I eventually got the GM role 10 years later. And for the last 10 years, I've been a GM. I did task force for 3 years. And then I was at different hotels, the AC Santa Clara, and then most recently the Hyatt Centric Fisherman's Wharf. I was GM at the last 4 years. And then what drew me to senior living, my grandparents, I got to watch them kind of go through the process, so to speak. And my parents and I, and my brother, we all kind of helped in that process, and just seeing them get a renewed lease on life, I guess is a good term to say. When they went to a senior living community, they didn't have to worry so much about caring for each other, and they could focus on caring for themselves, and we could focus on just enjoying their company. And I was just wondering to myself, I wonder if my skills from hospitality would translate to senior living.
Yeah. And so what skills or philosophies from the hotel world do you find translate most naturally into senior living?
Yeah. So in hotels, we like to say we enrich the lives of others. It's a home away from home. But beyond that, though, it's being pampered, that luxury feeling, from Four Seasons. I was at Four Seasons as well. And even Montage, just anticipating the guest needs. And in senior living, it's hospitality like times 100. So it's more challenging to bring, a smile to a resident or family member space when their loved one's dealing with dementia or Parkinson's or bedridden, whatever's wrong with them. So when I bring a smile to their face or, in their room for the bedridden resident, or just seeing a resident in the hallway or a family member, just having that quick smile, that quick hello and quick conversation with them, and watching them, turn that frown upside down, so to speak, just really brings joy to my day and is very rewarding for me. So just the basic hospitality skills of making sure people are happy translates very well from hotels to senior living.
Nice. Now, was there a moment when you realize this is where I'm meant to be?
Oh man, I remember meeting the residents for the first time. I was a little nervous, but I wasn't sure if I should be, this professional general manager like in a hotel. And then sure enough, one of them just hit me with a dad joke that had me roaring. I'm just like, okay, this is going to be fun. And like, I talk with my residents about football, about their families. I mean, it's conversations, like me and you would have, or you would have at a family gathering or out with your friends and stuff.
Right.
And I was just like, wait a minute, I get to do this every day at work. This is awesome.
In hospitality, I know first impressions are everything. How do you carry that mindset into senior living?
Yeah. So, it's definitely an intimidating and scary process, so to speak, when you move your loved one into a senior living community. So obviously you want the community looking great inside and out. Everything should be clean and in working order. No trash around the building, no wall marks, cobwebs, no light fixtures out. Everything should be in working order, as I said. Those little details go a long way, but none of that matters if you just don't have that warm, sincere, genuine smile from all the staff, making it feel like you're at home.
Yeah. Can you walk us through what you want a family to feel the very first time they step into Aegis Fremont?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of our Aegis's elevator speech, and I agree with it. And we want the residents' family to feel like we're caring for them as if they were our own.
Nice. How do you train staff to consistently deliver that warm, high-touch welcome?
So for every new hire, we have our cultural onboarding training we do. It's actually called ACE training, ACE, where we really we go deep with the employee.
Okay.
So I myself start, and I'll tell them about a time where a loved one, my wife is the example I used, and when I had pneumonia and I was really sick, and just how my wife cared for me. And it was just that personalized care. I didn't have to call work. She had already called my work partners for me and let them know what was going on. She would come with the kids, and just enough to where she knew I wanted to see them, but then she'd take them away and be like, we need to let daddy rest and heal. And it was just that personalized care. And I share that with them. And then I asked the employees, can you open up to me? Tell me a time when you felt that care. And then I'm like, listen. And then they open up. And sometimes it's a tearjerker or tear fest in those meetings, because a lot of times people lost some loved ones too. And I say, and I ask them, I'm like, okay, that care that you experienced with your loved one is how we want to care for our residents here. And it goes a long way. And I remind them of that in our morning meetings, different department meetings, and all staff meetings and stuff. That cultural training goes a long way.
What role does the physical environment play in creating that 5-star feel?
As I kind of mentioned, you definitely want everything clean and in working order. No dust, no cobwebs, no odors as well. And you don't want to mask odors. You can't just put a scent there and hope the odor is going to go away. You really have to make sure it's clean. So the furniture should look its best, free of stains in it or any tears. The wood throughout the building should be freshly polished with no scratches on it. No carpet spots, no mismatched light bulbs, like all the same color, and obviously no bulbs are out. So everything should be perfect.
Now, dining. Let's segue into dining and daily living as hospitality. Dining is often the highlight of a hotel stay. How have you reimagined dining in a senior living community?
Yeah, there's a lot to do in senior living. There's
Right.
a lot of different diets, different restrictions. You get
Right.
the 602, the physician's report, and you got all these specific diets you have to adhere to. Low carb, low sodium, low sugar. I mean, all the stuff that makes food taste good. So yes,
Right.
it's important to make delicious food with fresh, delicious ingredients, but presentation, I would say, is 75 to 80% of what makes our dining successful here. Fresh, clean linens, impeccable silverware, no stains or spots, the food plated beautifully without drips or spots on it, that kind of polished look you'd see in a fine dining restaurant. And then anticipating each resident here. So that wait staff does a tremendous job here, understanding what drinks that they like to have. If there's something on the fixed menu for the daily specials that they probably wouldn't like, so they order them in advance, something they know they would want instead, and having that ready for them. It's anticipating their needs that really sets us a level above to that almost hospitality atmosphere at our community.
Yeah. Can you share a story where a meal or dining experience made a real difference for a resident or family?
Oh yeah, we've had several of the. I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Ratatouille, but at the
Yeah.
end where food critic, so where the food critic's eating at the restaurant, and he just has that where he's eating the actual ratatouille dish, and he remembers his home and remembers his mom cooking him that rat. It starts to tear up. So anyway, we have this Irish resident here. It was St. Patrick's Day, so every St. Patrick's Day we cook corned beef and hash. And it was her first time here for St. Patrick's Day, a new move-in earlier that year. And it was just last year, actually. And I just remember her eating it, and I saw her like tearing up. And I was like, man, I want to go over, Joanne, what's going on? And she was just the taste of this just reminds me so much of home in Ireland. And for some reason, I just had a vivid memory of my 10th birthday, which she went on to tell me. And it was just so beautiful to hear, and just the memory of our residents, being able to remember something like that when they're 10 years old,
Wow.
just because of a meal that she had.
Wow. I love that story, by the way. And what lessons from your hospitality background help you elevate everyday moments in senior living?
Yeah. So just meeting so many different people from so many different backgrounds while working in so many different hotels, all
Yeah.
those interactions and all the people I've ever talked to, all those conversations helps me talk to anyone from any background, and just really helps me be successful. And I always love the challenge in hospitality of an upset guest and turning that frown upside down, what we like to say, and making sure when they check out is a huge thing in all the hotels. When they check out, make sure they're happy when they leave. So they leave a good survey, obviously. But here, it's not so much for that. It's just what I like to do personally. And I love just making people happy and seeing them smile, as you mentioned about our East Bay Senior Roundtables. I like having a good time. I like to make sure everyone is happy and smiling and enjoying their time. So just all those interactions I've had over the years in hospitality has really helped me be successful in senior living.
Yeah, I mean, if the East Bay Senior Roundtable is kind of just an example of how you throw events on, it's like you like to create memorable experiences for people, right? You want people just to have a good time and just remember that experience. And that was my take. So moving on, leading a hotel team and leading a senior living team can feel different. What's the overlap?
Yeah, everyone wants to feel important. Everyone wants to be recognized. Everyone wants to be heard. One of my favorite sayings is God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you speak. So really listening to the team, making sure that they have the tools and resources to do their job correctly and efficiently with a smile on their face. I always go to the pyramid mindset. If you take a pyramid, you put me on top of it, my directors, and then everyone below them, and you flip that pyramid upside down, everyone above me is my boss. Like I said, they don't have the tools and resources to do their job correctly. That's on me. Their training, they don't have it.
Yeah.
That's on me. And so taking 100% responsibility is huge. So if one of my employees makes a mistake, it's not their mistake. It's our mistake. We're going to fix it together. And it's not just their fault. They're being blamed for it. It's that servant, empathetic leadership.
How do you inspire your staff to embrace the hospitality mindset while also meeting the unique demands of care?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I like to inspire them by doing it, by living it every day with every interaction. So, the small gestures I like doing for my team, like I know the AM team loves old fashioned donuts, specifically old
Mhm.
fashioned. So, I'll order 2 dozen old fashioned donuts for them in the morning and just anticipating that, especially if I know they had a tough day before, so that that's here for a morning meeting. Or for the PM team, we'll do Chick-fil-A with their favorite sodas or their favorite snacks with it or something like that. And just, I always keep my office stocked with different treats that I know the team really likes. In fact, I have them make me a list. So I have that here on hand because they work so hard. And sometimes you just get depleted throughout the day. I completely understand. So to have a little pick me up here, and then they do that for our residents. They anticipate their needs and what is the resident like. And I've never said no to any purchase. If a resident is craving or not feeling their best and they know ordering them something locally, if the resident was local, which most of our residents were. So, from one of the local restaurants, they can more than welcome to pick up some food from there for them to help brighten their day. If they want to pick up like a teddy bear or something for someone in memory care, all of that's approved and and all of them feel empowered to do that.
Have you had to adapt your leadership style since moving into senior living? If so, how?
No, actually, I haven't had to just because I feel like servant empathetic leadership, as I mentioned before,
Mhm.
is just, it's the right way to manage people. You never want to make someone feel like it's totally on them. You always want to support
Right.
people make mistakes. We understand that. So how do we stop that mistake from happening again? And did they not have the proper training? Once again, maybe I hired that employee, maybe I didn't, but that's on me. I need to take 100% responsibility as well in making sure they have the proper training and the tools and resources they need to do their job, and then support them when they don't. And if it continues, then sure, progressive discipline and move on. But you got to give them the benefit of the doubt and do your best to help them out.
Got it. Can you share an example of how culture and morale directly impact the resident or family experience?
Yeah, this question, it kind of answers itself really, because obviously if you have low culture, low morale, the experience for the residents is going to be obviously less than desirable. But now if they're both are very high, that's where the magic happens. So my employees know that they don't have to ask me for approval, as mentioned. They can go out and buy those certain things. They're empowered to make those decisions here. And that stems from our culture. They know they can make decisions on my level if they need to with family members and with our residents. So it's that empowerment brings that family like culture here to where if they know if they make a mistake, we made a mistake. Let's fix it together.
Okay. I want to pivot topics again. Let's pivot into technology, meeting, hospitality. You've said before that senior living is behind in technology. What opportunities do you see for improvement?
Yeah. I mean, it's painful. Hotels, even too, and senior living, when you have slow internet, slow Wi-Fi. I mean,
Yeah.
everything nowadays, you need to open up the bandwidth. But my main reason for this is resident safety. I feel like
Mhm.
falls in our industry are the biggest change of condition and can be deadly in some scenarios. So the most significant changes to someone's baseline is when they fall and they're left unattended for a period of time. So obviously they have their call button, but what if they left it by their nightstand? So I'm really happy Aegis specifically, and I'm sure other communities have done it as well, agrees with me on this. And they added what's called this Augie AI fall detection system in every one of our
Okay.
rooms. And it's basically an advanced motion detection system that'll tell us via text message or to our smartphone. And you can set the level, high risk and whatnot, if they're leaving their bed or if they're leaving their recliner. And so we'll get this message to our device so we can get
Yeah.
to them hopefully before this high fall resident would potentially fall. Or if unfortunately they do fall, we get the message right away, resident 112 lying on the floors. We can get to them right away, which is just huge.
How do you envision technology blending with hospitality to make communities run better?
Yeah, there's just a lot of really cool technology out there. I was actually at an event in San Francisco and I saw what's called a liquid TV. And this is something I'm really big on, to where it's basically like a window, but it's
Yeah.
showing Venice in the window. And it's like a 24-hour or 12-hour camera, and it can be set, day and night, depending on if it's day or night in the community. And so you're looking at this window, but it's actually Venice, or it's Hawaii, or it's Peru, it's somewhere just beautiful. And I think that would really help in memory care when you're trying, if you have a resident that's a little anxious, or to help redirect them. I just think it'd be a game changer in the industry. So I know I've seen that in hospitality, and there's other things as well, as far as the resident sheets and just AI, to blend all this together as far as the residents' likes and dislikes and their care plan and their 602 physicians report, just blending all that together to put together a really good life enrichment package, care plan based on their history, I think could really be utilized well.
Okay. Can you share an example of tech already being used in your community that families or residents appreciate?
Yeah, so obviously I mentioned the Augie system, and just to touch a little more on that, to this day, we installed it in July of this year, and we've potentially avoided over 1,000 falls
Oh, wow.
since we installed the system. So once again, that's the note of a resident getting out of bed, and then us, going to the resident and seeing that they're fine. But that happened
Yeah.
over 1,000 times, and I believe it's really helped prevent multiple potential falls that could have happened if we didn't have the system.
Yeah. Excellent. In hospitality, trust is earned with every interaction. How do you earn family trust in senior living?
If you're fake, you'll lose their trust instantly. You really have to be yourself, which is a scary proposition for me because I have some dark humor, but surprisingly, people love it. I believe in the golden rule that talk to everyone the same way. So the way I talk to you right now is the same way I talk to my housekeeper or Dwayne Clark, the owner of the company. I talk to everyone the same way I talk to my brother or father, just without all the obscenities. That's also just state the facts, have the proof. We do 100 hours of training each year with the Crisis Prevention Institute for dementia capable training. So our team is 100% dementia capable certified. We have the lowest turnover of the company at 25%. We have over 12 years of experience of our tenured employees here. So our average tenure is 12 years here. And those are the facts. And when you tell them those and you can prove it, it's like, wow, this community really knows what they're doing. They obviously have a great team that doesn't want to leave because of hopefully great leadership. And that's what really builds the trust.
Okay. What are the most common fears or concerns families express when touring Aegis Fremont, and how do you address them?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with this if I were looking. Just the task itself is so daunting. I'm so blessed that I'm in the industry, so I'm prepared if my parents, if and when they ever need this. So, for a lot of a wait, a little too long. I think in our industry, I've heard them say you'd rather be 2 months too early than 2 days too late. And so I've heard that a few times. I can't agree with it more, because you get a major change of condition. It's like, I don't know how to care for mom and dad. I need to find a place for them. And then it's like, oh, do you have the 602 physician's report? Did they have a recent TB test, or are you having to get all that? And it may take a week or two potentially to get all those things in order to get them moved into a community. So Claudia, my marketing director, does an amazing job with this. It really helps walk the family through it all. And then the rest of the team as well. Mary Rose, my care manager, does an awesome job with it. Leslie, my health service director as well, as far as doing the assessment of the resident, helps answers any questions for the families as well. So I'd definitely say that is one of the greatest fears for moving people in. And then the other one is your mom's raised you your entire life, and now you have the fear of, am I doing the right thing? I'm moving my mom into this place. Why can't I care for her? And I really tell them, you got to put yourself in your mom's shoes. I mean, do you have kids? Because when I think of my kids, I don't want them to take care of me when I'm older. I want them to enjoy their life and not worry about me, and just come enjoy my company at a community. And I get some sort of ailment when I'm older.
Right. Can you share a story where going above and beyond for a family created lasting trust?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, just recently, actually, we had a family, they're going through tough times financially, and we were able to stretch things out a little bit here as far as their room and care go. So they were really worried financially, and they didn't know we offered what's called a roommate room. So where,
Yeah.
another family wants to be helped a little bit financially wise, and this family wanted to be helped as well. So it's two separate families, and moms were already friends, so to speak. So we talked with both family members and were able to reduce the rate and split it between the two families in order to
Yeah.
keep mom here. And the other family was extremely appreciative of well, and that's something they just didn't know about. And of
Yeah.
course, we wanted it to be a seamless process. So we helped move everything in, move the moms in together, so to speak, and set up the rooms to where they're both really happy and really just took all their worry out of it. And both families are great. They're friends and they're extremely happy here.
That's awesome. What's your vision for the future of senior living when hospitality and care fully come together?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I'd say in hotels, there's the major brands that stand out, so to speak. Like it's your Hyatts, your Hiltons, your Four Seasons, and people they trust those brands when they go. When they want to go to Hawaii or they have a business trip or wherever they want to go, they know if they book with those specific brands, they're going to get a certain level of care or atmosphere of service there. So
Yeah.
I feel like in senior living, the brands are going to be more well known. I feel like, with care, we'll take on more of a brand role, as in like when you go to a Marriott, the kind of service and amenities, that atmosphere you get there, you'll know those identities with, say, Aegis. It's like, okay, it's going to be more well known. I want my mom to go to an Aegis because we know she's going to be cared for this specific way. They're going to have these amenities there. And it's just going to be more well known, like, say, a Hyatt or Hilton.
Yep. If you could redesign senior living from scratch, what would it look like?
Oh, wow. I think a lot of communities don't quite separate the hotel and amenities kind of from the senior living side of it. So, you go to a community and you have the room, the residence room, and then right next to the residence room is maybe an office, the health service director's office, or maybe
Right.
there's an activities room. I would want to see it like separated. So almost
Right.
like cottages for the residents to live in, and then a separate building for, your offices, your gym, your movie theater and stuff like that. And then another area, separate area with like shops where it's,
Yeah.
that's where you go to have dinner, get your hair cut and the salon and stuff. So I'd kind of redesign it to look like that, to where it's almost like its own little community, the whole place. So I think that'd be pretty fun.
Oh, I like that. What advice would you give to other executive directors who don't come from a hospitality background?
Yeah, I would say just have fun, be involved, don't be glued to your desk. Get out in the community, volunteer in your local community, host events, host support groups, host East Bay Senior Roundtable and barbecue, and just never stop learning.
And how can families identify a community that truly values hospitality, not just care?
I mean, you'll know as soon as you walk into a community. Is it fun? Is it welcoming? Is there a sense of warmth? Is it clean? Can you picture yourself living there? So that's kind of where I see it.
Yeah. One of my last questions is this. What's next for you personally in your career journey?
Great question. I really love what I do. I love my residents. I love the families here. I love the team. I'm super blessed to have such an amazing team here. They do such a fantastic job making me look good, which is tough. But no, it's just, I really love it. Really love it here, and enjoying seeing this community be so successful. But sure, eventually I'd love to see myself and bring my energy to the home office and eventually work, our home office is in Seattle.
Yeah.
So, but I'd still like to be involved as maybe regional in this area or something. So that's kind of where I see myself next step. And who knows? Maybe one day open my own senior living franchise, so to speak.
Awesome. And any final words? And how can someone connect with you to learn more about Aegis Fremont?
Stop on by every Thursday. We have our happy hour here at the community. So we welcome anyone to come in from the outside to really experience what we do here. Maybe barbecuing. We always have a live band every Thursday here, and great activities. So yeah, you can stop by. You can email me as well, ryan.turner@aegisliving.com, all one word there. So yeah, and reach out. I'd be happy to answer any further questions or let you know more about my experience.
Excellent. Ryan, thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. You've shown how hospitality principles from first impressions to dining to leadership can transform senior living into something that feels less like a facility and more like home. And to my listeners, I'll remind you of my promise. This podcast is here to bring you real stories, practical tools, and expert insights so you and your loved ones can navigate senior living transitions with confidence instead of stress. If your loved one is considering senior living and you need to figure out what to do with their home, let's talk. Book a free consultation and learn more about my services at www.simplifyseniortransitions.com or DM me on Instagram at soldbydale. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps more families discover these conversations. Thanks for tuning in. Ryan, one last thank you for being on the episode with me today. And I'll see you all on the next episode of the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast.